there's personal trainers at my gym, but for what I wanted, which was to sort of have my training translate into the sport that I play, I didn't think any of those trainers, well, none of them have ever played rugby. And I'd heard of you from one of my friends who'd actually gotten more into rugby from training with you. And he'd also lost a load of weight, but I wasn't really concerned about the weight aspect. I was concerned of like, I'd tackled him into rugby training and he ran like a steam train. And I'd seen videos of him before we started training with you. And I sort of thought that sort of translation is something that I'd want. And I appreciate that you have to put the work in, but if you go to someone who's already kind of achieved those results with somebody else, you kind of like proofs in the pudding kind of thing. So one thing that you've brought in straight away that I'd never really done, especially in season, was sprint training. So the idea of having a session once a week where, you know, you'd perform 5 different sort of sprint exercises repeated that, you know, would not just work on your like, you know, 100-meter sprint, which obviously you'd never do in a game, but, you know, you'd change your direction, or, you know, you stop-start motion, which is something that I never really sort of thought of to combine alongside my actual, you know, rugby training sessions and weight training sessions. And they definitely translated well into the pitch. And then when it came to, you know, the gym, you know, kind of, I tried to perform Olympic weightlifts before, but I'd never worked with someone who could then say, no, you're not, you know, that's not a push press, that's a jerk. And there's these small changes that, you know, when you're just lifting the bar, you don't really think of, because sometimes, especially when you're tired, it's literally just that sort of response of get this bar up. Whereas when you then review it, especially with someone who knows what they're doing, it's a bit like, okay, the bar went up, but was the movement right? And, you know, one thing that I'd never done before training with Scott to now is, one, record myself during the movement, then looking back and being like, you know, literally, I've just lifted the weight, I'm sitting down in my rest period and I'm watching the video and going, you know, are my knees straight? You know, how have I extended? You know, all these things that I can then go, okay, I've got another lift in a minute and a half. I can translate this now because that wasn't good enough. And all, when I do a good one, I'm like, that was good. What did I do right then? And you kind of just start to add little triggers to your movements, which then means that, you know, when you do go in the gym the week after, I don't know, maybe the warm up takes a little bit less time, or, you know, you perform 6 solid sets of the movements, when previously maybe it might have only done like 1 or 2, which is obviously then going to benefit you more and more. Jack Yarker, you'd be provided a program and then sort of have reliable conversations with your coach. You'd be able to sort of review what you're doing, the results you're getting, and then make changes and tweaks based on those to sort of basically improve the program, improve what you want out of the training, basically. To be honest with you, it's been pretty much as I expected it to, with sort of certain different caveats. I think we've kind of evolved the like online coaching relationship between the two of us as it's gone on. You know, we figured out what works and what doesn't. I think it's very difficult when you sort of bring on a sort of new program, especially in season. You're going to see major changes, but like there were small things, and, you know, I felt a little bit faster off the mark. There were certain times when it came to like contact where I felt like a little bit more powerful, and I was a bit more, I think stable is probably the best word to sort of describe it, because sometimes when you're kind of you're not completely sort of strong technically, you might sort of make the tackle, but it's not exactly comfortable or on your terms. I sort of felt that there were times when I was going to contact when the contact was more on my terms. You're quite a good guy to chat to, so it's always sort of a good little sort of like how you doing sort of thing. And then when you get sort of into the specifics of what we're here to talk about, we do it based on like, you know, what we were struggling with last week, and we kind of focused on those movements initially. It's kind of like we're moving into the off season, so I want to have a good off season, you know, remove any niggles that I've got in my body, get a bit stronger. Plan on moving clubs at the end of this season and sort of hoping to either progress to a league above. So then sort of maybe seeing how well I do there. So, put on a bit of mass, bit of strength, and then do all that while still being able to do 80 minutes around the park and be relatively quick about it. Although no one will have ever described me as relatively quick in my life. Just keeping it there.
I think the videos of your three interceptions, I'd beg to differ after seeing them. But yeah.
You know what? I think I'm offside for some of them. I'm just like teetering.